I almost forgot, so I'm gonna put it at the start of the video. Look at my Godzilla cup. Woohoo! I'm gonna get the Kong one. I'm watching it again tomorrow. I'm gonna get the Kong one. Now let's start the video. Yo guys, I am here today to talk about Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire. Non-spoiler review, and then later in the video, we'll get to the spoilers. Let me just start by saying, peak, zenith, gas, raw fire, peak fiction. I love this movie. Genuinely so much. I watched it while I was in LA, and it was the first IMAX movie I've ever seen. Saw it on the 28th at like middle of the day, which is crazy because normally on opening night I thought it was only at night, the night before the release date, but I saw it really early. But it was so freaking worth it. Okay, adding back from the thing that I added in earlier, the only reason I got this and I didn't get the whole bundle is because when I was in LA watching the movie, they made it so you to get the whole bundle. I didn't want the popcorn bucket because I didn't want to get popcorn. I don't want to eat popcorn. But I probably should have done it because now I got to buy this, and then the theater near my place, I can get the Kong one. They don't have the popcorn bucket though. So now I'm missing the fuck out. But it is what it is. Continue the video. I'm hesitant to describe it as a Showa type kaiju movie like everyone else is doing because it's not quite that wacky, but it's probably the closest we're ever going to get. And I mean that in the best way possible. There is a lot to discuss in this movie, so we're going to start piece by piece. Starting off, I'm going to talk about kaiju characterization wise. Kong and the apes in this movie have some of the best that I've seen. Probably because they're more human-like, but they use a lot of body language and facial expressions to make up for their lack of speech. Lots of conversations without necessarily being spoken happening here. And that communication between the kaiju is shown, not told. We don't need any humans explaining or telling us what's going on, or subtitles showing with their words. It's just us being a fly on the wall during monster-to-monster combos, and it's wonderful. I mean, even the other kaiju gets some of that. Like, we see Godzilla, another one that I'm not going to spoil, and Kong, like, you know, kind of discussing, kind of without having to say anything. Although it is also through one of the humans, which is kind of cool as well. But yeah, all in all, we just see a lot of monster verbiage, especially without human interference, even though, like I said, a little bit later there is a little bit, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We get a lot of extended screen time and slower moments in the first half of the film that allow these kaiju discussions to take place. And I bring that up because one of my only small nitpicks in this movie is that while the pacing in the first half is pretty great, pretty good, no complaints, up until the main battle kicks in, then it gets a bit fast as fuck, and I do wish we had a little bit more to grasp on, because you can tell certain moments of the movie, especially certain Godzilla fights that happen like that, you could tell they are kind of sped up or some shit was cut to make the movie fit under 2 hours. I think that's just a Wingard thing though, keeping his movies under 2 hours, which I didn't know until recently. I read it on Twitter, so I could be wrong. I would also understand if it was just Legendary, because I know a lot of people like to have the 2 hour movies so they can get more showtimes or whatever. Kind of a nitpick, but do wish we had a little bit more extended scenes for certain scenes. It's also got good memes, and I know this isn't the most important thing, but low-key, in the world of the internet, not in the world of normal people, but in the world of the internet, it's gonna help a little bit in the box office, I'm sure. I mean, it already had the best opening weekend of 2024, but I only say this to remind movie studios that it's gotta be natural. All the meme moments that are from this movie are from the movie, rather than the marketing. They weren't in the trailers and stuff. If you've seen them, you've seen them. I'm not going to spoil them, because some of them are spoilers of funny-ass moments, but not like huge plot spoilers. But a lot of them are, like I said earlier, the kaiju's talking. Or like certain fights where certain funny-ass shit happens. And because of a lot of that facial expressions between like Kong or Scar King with like his stances and stuff, it just makes for some really good memes and moments. I mean, even some of the actual plot of the movie, like Godzilla is a meme right now. So there's actual good non-forced stuff that happened in this for memes and the internet, which I think is great. So unlike that, please don't, movie studios, please don't just force it in and hope it catches like fucking Claude or whatever the fuck his name is from Elemental. I still don't know how that movie ended up working. Shit, maybe forcing memes does work. Or like Morbius, where it was a meme and then they leaned into it and they realized, oh wait, people don't actually want to watch the movie again? Fuck. Another random thing that I like that isn't really a spoiler is in this movie, Godzilla does sleep like a big kitty in Rome. He's just kind of there, just napping. Back to Kong, we get to see some of his smarts tactfully in this movie, which was cool, like traps and battle methods. Even a little bit of mentorship to Tsuko, which is the little monkey you saw in the trailers. I'm not going to get too much into spoilers once again, but I know I'm talking about Kong a lot. But that's because, unsurprisingly, Godzilla isn't in this movie much. This is Kong's Monsterverse. Godzilla is just here to balance it out when needed at this point. And if you're crying because he's in the marketing a lot, of course he's in the fucking marketing. It's called capitalism. Are we forgetting movies at the end of the day are cash grabs? Even when it's made with heart, even if it's the most beautiful thematic movie where the director put a lot of his emotions into it, it could still be a cash grab. Movie studios are here to make money. And what's going to make you more money in a monster movie than putting Godzilla's name in the fucking title? I wouldn't even be surprised if it was all written for Kong and he had to force in like 8 minutes of Godzilla. But it clearly worked because, like I said, the box office is fucking booming. Watch the box office explode. Another thing I think is low-key, because Godzilla's, like, what's it called? Runtime in this movie isn't super crazy compared to, like, some other ones we've seen. Like, I feel like it just feels less than normal because of how much Kong gets. Kong gets a fuck ton. I haven't counted it, but it feels like a fuck ton. One last point. Again, I'm dying. But one last point on the kaijus, because not only do the monkeys in general do their thing in this movie, but the main villain, Scar King. Like I was saying, without giving too much away, the most emotive and talkative character we've gotten in the whole MonsterVerse, even including Kong. Like, even down to his stances. How he walks, doing all these poses and shit. He was meant to represent the worst of humanity, and I think he did it. Once again, without giving too much away. He's a villain you love to hate. Shimo, on the other hand, once again, without giving too much away, is the opposite type of villain, one you sympathize with, but they work together in ways that I won't spoil once again. And there's a couple other kaiju in this movie that, unfortunately, like I was saying earlier, they're in small scenes. Ones that feel a bit wasted, even though they move the plot forward. It just comes down to that one complaint of which the movie was even a teensy bit longer. It is what it is type of situation. But to stop talking about kaijus for a minute, the humans weren't ass in this movie either. The MonsterVerse has had a very hard time finding balance with these characters. We had Godzilla 2014 with Bryan Cranston, still one of the best till this day. And then his son, fucking Brody or whatever the fuck his name is, who I didn't give a fuck about. And then his wife, who I didn't give a fuck about. Or the kid that I didn't give a fuck about. We got Skull Island, which had some pretty great ones. That was nice. I like that. But then we got Godzilla King of the Monsters, where Serizawa was the best. And you know what? The family was okay. You know? The family was okay. They weren't great, though. And then what? Godzilla vs. Kong? What's his name? Fucking, podcaster man. Bernie. I liked him there. Didn't care for the kids, though. Be honest. And then what? The villains and shit? I kind of remember them. I don't know. They're okay, I guess. But yeah, once again, like, passable. But in this movie, they were cooking. They were fucking cooking. While the movie isn't perfect in this aspect, it feels like every character made sense to be there. They weren't just thrown in. They had purpose. Like I said, like the two kids in the last movie did not need to be there. Millie Bobby Brown's story ended in King of the Monsters, started in King of the Monsters, ended in King of the Monsters. It continued in GVK purely because probably the name of the actor making money. I don't fucking know. If anyone says my boy Bernie is unnecessarily, I'm blocking on the spot, man. Although he's probably the best argument because some of his jokes don't land super hard, but when they do, they fucking hit. They fucking hit. This is kind of a spoiler. I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. I'll say it later. It's fucking amazing. In my opinion, he basically represents a normal-ass person among these monsters, which I think a good monster movie needs. Can't have it all be experts and shit. And I know he's technically an expert, but in terms of like how he responds to things happening, if he sees like a kaiju fucking murk someone or some shit explode, he's gonna be like, what the fuck? He's not just gonna be like, let's move on, soldiers, you know? He represents how a normal person would fucking react in these situations. He doesn't just keep the cool face during bad things. And I think that's great. The native girl, her story is probably the best here. Definitely makes a case for the best in the MonsterVerse because it continues on from GVK, but just does even more. We get more of a particular tribe in the MonsterVerse. I'm not going to say their name. They introduced the best one. Fuck, how am I forgetting names now? Fuck. What's his name? Oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. He was the best one too. I must have written it down somewhere here. Hold on. I'm gonna look forward on my notes. I know I've written it down. Oh, Trapper! He's the GOAT. He is the best character I've ever seen. He is goated without spoiling anything. He's amazing. And yeah, they kept the crew small, probably because that balance with the kaijus being shown more, and I think it really works. But that's probably one of those things, like, there's a couple things in this movie like this where they'll probably find the perfect balance next movie, because while I say that the characters work for this movie, and I think they work pretty well for the type of movie, I can definitely sympathize with people who want, like, super deep or even deeper, like, stories for these characters, kind of like how, because I know 2014 still has a cult following, but Bryan Cranston's was cooking. I don't see the hype for the other characters. I see the hype for the shots and shit in that movie because it's fucking amazing, but let's address the elephant in the room, because even though this movie isn't -1, I get it. After seeing -1, some people probably expect more actual, like, super crazy, well-written characters. So even if a character isn't ass, like in these movies where I think they're not ass, like, sure, maybe you want some more super in-depth characters, crazy narratives and stuff. And I think we're going to get closer to that balance in the next movie. I think eventually there will be a place for that in the MonsterVerse, not necessarily this movie, because it's not -1. I don't know why you'd expect that anyways. Yeah, I get it. You can have fun movies and characters still be written amazingly. So I'm not going to count that out for future movies, because at best they're good, maybe great if you like the humor. You know, I wouldn't say they're the best characters I've ever seen. What did I write next? Where the fuck am I? Oh, we get a lot of cool lore expansion specifically for Hollow Earth, but also some for certain kaiju history, I should say. Not gonna spoil once again. The music could have been better, but that's another nitpick. Thought the CGI was fine. I remember during the trailer, a lot of people, when the trailer first came out, a lot of people were fucking bitching, because it's the easiest complaint to make when a trailer comes out for a big movie. I know some of the sense of scale was wonky towards the end, but the fight was so goddamn cool, I didn't really care. Plus, the more fast and agile monsters get, the harder it is to keep that scale, or have those shots like 2014 Godzilla, for example, because in movies like that, or Pacific Rim, they're normally walking slow as fuck, or they're fighting slow as fuck, slowly crashing through buildings. This movie doesn't have that. They're fast as fuck now. Scar King fights like a Tekken character. He moves as fast as a human would. You don't get those shots. I'm sure you can still find a way to achieve it, though, because there are some shots that I think work kind of well in the final fight, for example, because it's like the most sense of skill you get, because it's not in Hollow Earth. So I'm pretty sure in the next film, the balance will be better, healthy middle ground, like I was saying, with some other aspects, because a lot of things for this movie, I feel like we're testing that balance and teetering on lines. And I think this movie ends in a great spot for the MonsterVerse to branch into a whole lot of different areas. Once again, saving that for the spoiler review part, because I don't want to speculate what movie we can get next without talking about the ending. This isn't really a spoiler, but Adam Wingard said that next movie would probably be like this one, but mostly with Godzilla. So there's a lot of things that could happen for that. Can't say much more without spoiling, but I would highly recommend this film, even if you haven't seen the other movies. It does feel weird saying that, because I'll always be the guy who says don't skip shit. But if you absolutely have no time or desire to watch the other 4, this will still slap. My little brother only saw this, and it was his favorite movie in a long time. He fucking loved it. He's 15, by the way. That makes him sound like he's fucking 5. Like, oh my god, monsters, woo. But who cares, man? Kaiju is for any age. The first King Kong movie came out in 1933. I know no one's still alive from then. Okay, maybe. They'd be like 90. They probably got some age 90 fans, right? Let's go. Still kaiju fans. Godzilla came out in 1954. Let's see, any 70-year-olds still around that like Godzilla? Come on now. But yeah, please go watch it. It slaps. Now on to the spoilers. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna read my notes here. They're pretty in order, because I took notes during the second time I watched it with my family when I came back home, so I could look away for, quick seconds to jot them down. I had that luxury. Haven't already seen the movie. But that's going to make them pretty in order. I swear this isn't just a summary of the movie. I'm going to read what I wrote down and then kind of give my extended thoughts, because obviously I didn't write super in-depth shit. Literally, the first note I wrote was Kong looking for family. Kong looking for family. That's literally what I wrote. And then the next one says Doug. But I'll elaborate. I really like, that whole continuation. It's been a great little arc of Kong looking for his family, which makes the conflict of this hit even harder, purely because he's so excited to meet other monkeys. And when he meets them, they're all fucking dickheads. Obviously we know later it's because they're under the rule of Scar King, but that must be the most devastating thing. Like, he found what he wanted the most and they fucking sucked, and he had to fight them all off. Next I wrote Doug. I think I was just happy to see Doug, even though all he did was eat some shit, like steal food. Shout out Doug, man. Hope he, I don't know, I like the theory that he becomes like Anguirus down the line or some shit, or like an actual Titan rather than just Doug. That's such, why, even choosing the name Doug is just asking for him to be memed. Next I wrote down Toothache. Yeah, I mean, y'all saw the movie. He had a toothache. Pretty good excuse to make him, to introduce that like medical attention thing, introduce Trapper, and then mixed with like the nice excuse of like the Mechagodzilla thing to introduce the arm later. And I only say the word excuse because they didn't plan this in Godzilla vs. Kong. There's no way, I should probably say the word, not excuse, but like a good explanation. Because, like I said, they didn't plan it before. Not to say it's an ass pull, but like, it was good explanations. So little things like that I think worked. I wrote, Native girl connects to Kong, like girl in old Gojira movies. I don't know why I wrote Gojira specifically, but, rather than Godzilla, but it is what it is. Y'all know what I mean by that. I thought that was cool. Although, I don't think they'll do that for Godzilla now, because they've done it for Kong. which I don't know how to feel about that. Although we might see that in the -1 sequel, so we'll still get that. Hopefully. I wrote Chapper for Best Human in Monsterverse. I already talked about that earlier. Oh, here's something. Bernie's fucking lines, man. I never thought I'd hear Discord mentioned in a kaiju movie. And he fucking said later in the movie, he said, "I'm gonna kiss you in the mouth." That was the funniest shit ever. That was the greatest shit ever. Talking about Godzilla's mini arc before meeting Kong. While I think scenes could have been longer of him fighting the kaiju. Oh, fuck, I forgot how you say their name. The crab one. Like, someone said it's not pronounced this way. It's pronounced like something LA or whatever. I don't fucking know, man. I don't care. They weren't great. they were just there to get their ass beaten. It's kind of funny because I feel like in the movies we haven't seen a single Titan submit since the end of King of the Monsters, even though that's the whole point. So it's fucking hilarious. But, you know, I guess it makes sense. You know, there's still monsters. They're still gonna do shit every now and then. Although we haven't seen Rodon. We get Mothra in this movie, but we don't see fucking Rodon. Bring my boy back. They had to once again make an excuse. Mothra was actually an excuse because at the end of King of the Monsters, didn't they say they found a fucking Mothra egg? Where the fuck is that egg? If they didn't fuck that up, this would have made more sense. I won't lie. Mothra coming back is low-key an ass pull, but I'll take it because it's Mothra. It's things like this where in kaiju movies I can kind of like put away the shit that doesn't make sense and be like, it's cool. I don't know, man. I would love to see Rodon back. Another thing I wrote down is I love the tough love that Kong uses on Zuko. And the fucking scene of him fucking hitting him with them, that's amazing. But yeah, those scenes, like, it's kind of rough to watch him screaming in his face and shit, but like, he has to make this man understand. And those are some of the best conversations in the movie. There's still a fuck ton of Hollow Earth undiscovered. It was 5% explored at the start of the movie, I think. My debate, or my guess would be like by the end of the movie, maybe like 10. I don't fucking know. But how do we even gauge that 5% unless it was like one of those scanner thingies? So like we don't truly know how much is done, which is another good setup by their part because now you can, any villain from now on that you want to have from Earth can be from Hollow Earth. Obviously, a lot of Godzilla's ones now are either going to be like space or man-made, perhaps, you know, shit like that. If you're pulling from actual Godzilla lore anyways. I already wrote that down, or already talked about that Scar King stance and fighting style, which is cool. Nice to have a pure evil villain every now and then because nowadays a lot of things are oversaturated with like, oh, you gotta feel bad for me, villain, you know? So it's cool to get some evil ones. I don't know the statistics on this, but like I was saying earlier, this is an achievement for kaiju screen time. Not included, well, okay, let's say not including suit movies, because I know in like a lot of, for example, the Showa era, late Showa era, we had a lot of fucking screen time, but they were in suits, so a little bit different, you know? But in terms of the CGI era, this has to be a fucking achievement. And yeah, once again, the arm might be, I'm only saying this because I literally wrote it down like this. Arm may be a bit of plot convenience, you know, the arm for Kong. Or dumb, but it's cool, so who cares? Rah! But I also bring that up again to talk about this. It's not completely unprecedented. He's had electric powers before, even though that also was kind of bullshitted in Godzilla vs. Kong 1962, I believe. But yeah, I thought that was a kind of cool nod for like the OG fans. Because I low-key thought in GVK, when they electrocuted him to, I don't know if they weren't bringing him back to life, but to kind of bring him back to fighting. I don't know. I thought that was going to give him actual electric powers. But I'm cool they found a way to sneak that in low-key. And it makes a little bit more sense than him getting actual electric powers. Goji versus King Kong round 4. That was cool. That was cool. I like that. Like that a lot. And it was cool that Kong just like went like, okay, I got him with a punch. I cannot get let up because he will fuck me up, you know? Once again, Kong being smart as fuck. I like it. And then Godzilla being pissed off after that was great. Godzilla's character in this whole movie is great. Just like grumpy old man, why you waking me up from my nap type shit. Fight later on, and the anti-gravity was sick. The little assists between the different monsters, whether they're on our side or the bad guy's side, that was cool. Then of course the fight in the real world. I also wrote this down. Zuko screaming throughout the movie is hilarious. Even if it's a super serious thing, just the way, like it's great. This is kind of a turn, but death of Scar King, satisfying. Would love to see him become Mechani Kong if we have to find a way to bring in Mechani Kong. And I only say this because I saw the theory on Twitter. And normally that's kind of a weird theory, but we had that with Mechagodzilla and Ghidorah. So low-key, that would be a super hard fucking way to bring in Mechani Kong. Make it like, just like Mechagodzilla, where it's just angry because it carries the will of Scar King or something. And it would have to be in a Kong solo movie because Godzilla would probably fuck it up. Maybe have Zuko age up in one of the future movies or something. Like, it would be smart. And yeah, after the end of the movie, Kong is now truly king. And even though I mentioned pacing issues earlier, they weren't as bad the second time I watched it. So Maybe I was tripping about that, but I still stand by it for certain parts of the movie. But yeah, the end didn't feel as rushed as I thought it was the first time, the second time I watched it. Okay, those notes were kind of ass, and I didn't really expand on them too much, but that's what I wrote. That's what I wrote, man. Don't really have much else to say besides I think MonsterVerse in a great place right now. Next movie I would hope is a Godzilla solo film. Although, I guess it would still make sense if they put Kong in it for marketing or whatever, or money. But I think we're at a good point where they could separate for sure for a film or two and then bring them back when needed. Who do I want to be antagonist for the next one? I don't know, you know? But eventually we gotta lead to Destroya. That's my main hope for Endgame. Kong is gonna be interesting because he's the one you're definitely gonna have to make the most villains for. The only one we have really from a movie is Mechanic Kong. I know there's shit from like cartoons and stuff. I haven't watched them all and I plan to, but so maybe you can do those. And I'm not talking about the Skull Island cartoon. I'm talking about like old Kong's cartoons. Although, are those the Warner Bros. King Kong? Or not Warner Bros. Who the fuck owns King Kong? Hold on. Is it Universal? Or I guess it's RKO, huh? Wait, okay, so it's Warner Bros. No, so Universal. I don't fucking know how this works. But you know how like they can't use the word King Kong? I don't know if those villain... Oh, let me just see. Kong cartoon. Not Klong. Kong. So Kong the animated series. So that's called Kong. And that one has this villain. This is why I mentioned it, because I saw this a while ago when I was looking at, like, if I ever do a fanfic for, like, MonsterVerse shit, or, like, my own MonsterVerse, who I'd have as villains. And I was trying to find shit for... Oh, you guys can't even see it. Hold on. I was trying to find shit for Kong, because he doesn't have much, and that was one I saw. So, like, shit like that maybe you could bring, but I'm not sure, you know? So, that's going to be the most interesting. Godzilla, I don't see them making too many ones now, because I feel like the problem of money for using Toho monsters might not be as much of an issue as long as they keep making money. It will be rough if they make Godzilla one that it doesn't make money, like King of the Monsters didn't make as much, but for now I feel like we're in a place where we can use a Toho villain or antagonist like Biollante or something. Because eventually you're going to need to bring them back, right? Eventually. I mean, we've already said, like I said, Oxygen Destroyer, and the fact that we have Ghidorah proves aliens, you know? So, like, there's shit you could do for sure. Future Eddie here. I'm surprised I left this out in the video, but I'm also not because I forgot a lot of things in the video, it seems. While editing it, I've realized, but whatever. This is one I really want to bring up, though. In the movie, because Monarch isn't the government, right? The government's totally separate. We see that throughout the movie, that the government's kind of tired of Godzilla, and realistically, even if the U.S. government is okay with Godzilla, which I don't think they are in this movie, but let's say they were, there's governments all over the world where Godzilla goes that aren't going to be okay with him, so we could lead up to some, like, human versus Godzilla shit, some destroy all monsters type of thing. I would love to see that. Whether it takes a movie or two, but like it's gonna be really fucking interesting seeing the Godzilla side of things here, which I'm gonna continue to talk about right now. So go back to past me. And why not bring in a Jet Jaguar? Why not bring in an Anguirus? I saw someone put a picture of Trapper next to Jet Jaguar. That would be the coolest fucking thing ever. Streets need it. But yeah, that's enough yapping for today. Loved the movie. Fucking amazing. I have no clue where it ranks in my MonsterVerse rankings, but it's definitely near the top in terms of just fun. Like, in terms of rewatchability, definitely up there with Godzilla vs. Kong. But yeah, MonsterVerse is in a great place. If you disagree, fair enough. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I'm out. Sorry for the disjointed video. My script writing skills are ass. Peace. I also forgot to show off Kong! Technically, though, this is King Kong. Ooh, not the same. But whatever, I don't care. Look at Kong. Aha.